And welcome to our new appointment with our interview series. Today we have the great pleasure to host Professor Susanna Elm from the University of California, Berkeley. Professor Elm, thank you very much to be with us today. For those who actually don't know you, can you please introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I am a professor of history and classics as well. So I'm in two departments, but my principal department is the Department of History at the University of California at Berkeley. My specialty is the later Roman Empire, the history of the late Roman Empire, but my approach, I think, is fairly interdisciplinary. So I make use of the techniques and interests and questions of classics, let's say from a more philological perspective, as well as religion. So I'm also interested in Christianity and the transformation of the later Roman Empire into a Christian Roman Empire. But at the end of the day, at heart, I'm a historian, let's say, of social, economic, and cultural history of the later Roman Empire.
Okay, great. Professor Elm, last week you joined us for our guest lecture series. And can you please tell us how was your experience at our center in the context of your participation as a guest in the guest lecture series?
Well, I was very happy to be here. And as it turned out, the combination, which was Professor Marion Katz and myself, I thought worked very well. We were tasked to talk about gender and social control, and particularly the role of women in gender and social control. And I do think that both of us emphasized that social control acts, let's say, through women, uses women as it were to discuss social control, but that in our pre-modern worlds, be they the later Roman Empire or early Islam, really what we're talking about is a homosocial sphere, so that men at the end of the day are what counts, right? So they use women and, effeminate men or whatever you want to call it to think with. I thought it worked very well, and I have for a long time felt that, or I'm not the only one, of course, but I do think that there's a lot one can do in putting the later Roman Empire and early Islam together, because obviously one evolved in the context of the other. So I was very pleased, and the questions were really interesting. As usual, of course, being on Zoom is excellent because you can gather lots of people from different places. In fact, colleagues of mine from the United States were dialing in. On the other hand, we are missing in real life.
Of course, but anyway, it looks like you have really enjoyed your participation in our guest lecture, because actually it's really, really cool. It's a great news for us. So my last question is if you actually can imagine to collaborate again with us, and if you have seen a special potential in our center.
Yes, I would very much like to collaborate more with you. And I've also been thinking about it in terms of my own graduate students. I have, of course, several graduate students, and my next real in-depth research project, on which I've been working for now 10 years, more or less, carries the tentative title Augustine the Economist. So the actual focus is going to be on North Africa, economic, social history in North Africa in the context of the development of Augustine's theology. So I have already a couple of students who are working on North Africa, and I would very much like to incorporate them in such a collaboration. I would love to come to Hamburg myself, but I'm also really interested in fostering that kind of exchange, because I do think it's really important. Several of my students also specialize more in archaeology proper, actually. And I was sorry that I missed the very excellent conference that was taking place at the same time on that wonderful villa in northern Spain, where I would love to have been able to participate, with these incredible mosaics. So all of these things I think are very, very useful. And I very much, would be interested in fostering that for myself, but in particular also for my doctoral students.
looking forward for this exchange with you and with your graduate students. It will be an honor and a really big pleasure for us. Professor Elm, thank you very much for your time, because we know that actually you are on holiday. So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully to see you very soon, hopefully in person and not only virtually.
Yes, I would very much enjoy that. And as you know, I tend to be, between California and Europe, so it shouldn't be too complicated. And thank you very much for all your work and for your questions and everything you do for the center. So thank you very much. And actually, if you have tips, if you think, if you have ideas, what we could do, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Definitely, I will do. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Bye-bye.